So I'm going to talk about a young guy named Daniel. You know, one of the things you find out from Daniel really quick is something that every youth goes through. And of course, adults label it as peer pressure. And so, but everyone's went through it. I went through it as a kid, which was many moons ago, probably back when Noah was on the earth. Noah and Moses and whoever else. So I decided though early on that I was going to be a Christian. So, man, probably in grade school I started living for Jesus. Serious. So by the time I got into middle school, I started getting called names, okay, for being a Christian. Because when you're a Christian, you're different. And there's this pressure in school to fit in. And one thing I've learned since school, once you're out of school, guys, you leave pretty much all those friends and all that world. It's just, so, the peer pressure that's there is really nothing because it disappears once you're gone. I mean, I went to a totally different world, went to college in Seattle, and so it was totally different. It wasn't, made new friends, forgot all about this place, except for I moved back. Anyway, actually, I grew up in Tonasket, so, like you guys. So, went to school in Tonasket. I don't even want to say what year, because that would freak you out. Because my picture is in the hall. So if you go down through the hall, you will find it there. That's a little freaky thing. It's not in black and white, though. It's not that far. Okay. Actually, my picture was in black and white. Uh-oh. Because I chose to put it in black and white. Wow. I didn't like the color side. But, so I started getting called names because I didn't want to fit in. I didn't want to fit in. I don't know about you, but I don't like being a follower. And there's some people you're going to find in life, there are people who are natural followers. They just tend to follow. And then there are people who are leaders. God wants us to be leaders who don't care about, don't have to be a follower. Don't have to be. Daniel was a leader. I mean, Daniel was captured as a young teenager. And he's probably, 16, 17, somewhere in there, captured by the Babylonians. Now, if you've studied history, the Babylonian Empire was huge. And the main king who brought about the Babylonian Empire was a king called Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, big name. Nebuchadnezzar hated everyone else but the Babylonians. But he would take kids from these captured countries. He would pick out the chosen ones, the ones that were the most talented, the ones that he saw as most gifted. And he would intellectually, physically, and he would bring them in to teach them and educate them in the Babylonian language and in their ways. One Bible teacher told me that they were the first ninjas. They were taught martial arts, everything. They knew how warriors, they studied everything. They were the top-notch warriors of their day, like Navy SEALs of today. Okay? But they were the ninjas of their day. They were like a secret society. So they included wise men and magicians, is what they called them. Okay? And Daniel was a part of this, brought in. And so the first thing is, we struggle, if you got your booklets, the first thing you struggle with is what? Peer pressure. Right? Daniel struggled with fear because he didn't want to. You fear fitting in. So if we're not paying attention, we give in to something called fear. So Daniel's struggle was with fear. And in Daniel 2, got you 2? Daniel 2, verse 1. We're going to read it, okay? Here's the story. Daniel's story goes like this. One night, during the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had such disturbing dreams that he couldn't sleep. Have you ever had a dream like that? You wake up and you just can't go back to sleep. It's like disturbing. You have nightmares? Okay, when you have a nightmare, come on. What do you dream about?
Yeah.
What do you dream about when you have nightmares? Spiders? Creepy things? Yeah.
Do you scream? No.
Do you scream? You wake up screaming? Really? I've never woke up screaming. My dreams are just really distorted. I don't even remember them. They're just, so I don't have scary dreams.
They don't make sense.
I
Yeah,
have one
that would be
when I
mine.
was really little that I still remember today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had like a favorite dog and it was a nightmare about that dog.
So, this king, though, Nebuchadnezzar had such a strong, powerful dream that he woke up and it's just troubling him. So, he called in his magicians, his enchanters, his sorcerers, his astrologers, and he demanded that they tell him what he had dreamed. And they stood before the king. He said, I've had a dream that deeply troubles me and I must know what it means. Now, Daniel was not called in on this because they were still studying. This young group of wise guys were still, that sounds weird, they were wise guys. But they were learning, okay? They were still learning. So they didn't get called into this. So the astrologers answered the king in Aramaic. Lord, long live the king. Tell us the dream, and we will tell you what it means, which is usually what we do, right? If you ask somebody, can you tell me what this dream means? And they'll go, well, tell me about the dream. So, but the king answers to these astrologers. I'm serious about this. If you don't tell me what my dream was and what it means, you will be torn limb from limb and your houses will be burned into heaps of rubble. Okay, now how many of you can tell somebody else what they dreamed? I've never been able to do that. No. But if you tell me what I dreamed and what the dream means, I will give you many wonderful gifts and honors. Just tell me the dream and what it means. And here's their answer. They said, please, your majesty, tell us the dream and we'll tell you what it means. The king replied, I know what you're doing. You're stalling for time because you know I'm serious when I say if you don't tell me the dream, you are doomed. So you have conspired to tell me lies, hoping I will change my mind. But tell me the dream, and then I'll know that you can tell me what it means. So the astrologers replied, no one on earth can tell the king his dream, and no king, however great and powerful, has ever asked such a thing of any magician, enchanter, or astrologer. And the king's demand is impossible. No one except the gods can tell you your dream, and they do not live here among the people. The king was furious when he heard this, and he ordered that all the wise men of Babylon be executed. And because of the king's decree, men were sent to find and kill Daniel and his friends. So we're going to stop right there for a second. I mean, Daniel wasn't even there, but because they were wise men, and the king was so furious, anybody who was a wise man, they were going to kill. Have you been threatened? Has anybody ever threatened to kill you?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
No? I mean, maybe just like, I'm going to kill you. Like, you know, but they don't really mean it as in literally.
Oh, yeah.
They're mad enough at the time to thump you maybe. But kill you?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think.
But Daniel right here is faced with death. Have you ever feared, do you guys fear death? You afraid of death?
Nope.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to die, but I don't really like to go through the pain part. It's the getting there that's the little, so I lost a friend a couple days ago in a car accident. And used to go to our church here. Well, does. Not anymore. She's in heaven. So, but just 2 days ago, car rolled over, gone. And I don't really like the thought of dying. So fear is a thing every one of us can struggle with. But the problem with fear is it can manipulate us. Daniel's struggle was with fear, but he didn't let it become a problem. And that's what you and I have to do. You and I have to get to a place where we don't let fear control us. Because fear will. I mean, fear controls us in relationships. It controls us in who we choose as friends. It can. It can cause us. It can cause us to manipulate us in jobs and everything. I mean, see, when I was a kid, it could have dominated me and made me choose what group to be in. You know, like fit in with the athletes or fit in with, because I love sports. I don't know about you, but I did. I played a lot of sports at school, but I didn't want to fit in with school. I wanted to follow Jesus, and so that put me aside right away. And so my nickname in school became, and, you know, a lot of people get a nickname. My nickname was Brother Weaver. Seriously, all the way through school, that's what I was called. Brother. Only you had to say it like this to say it right. Brother Weaver. You know, hey, Brother Weaver. And they'd say that all the time. I'd walk into school and they'd go, hey, Brother Weaver, what's the word of the Lord for today? You know, just to mock me. So, because I'd always come in with my school books and a big, huge Bible on top. Because I wanted to make sure they saw it. I wasn't shy. You know, some of us are shy about our Christianity. I was not shy about it at all. I was like, you know, so it even came up in class, you know, sometimes. Like, I remember when I was a senior, it was class, I don't know, you guys probably don't do this class anymore. What's it called now? What was it called then? I can't even remember.
Like current
events.
Yeah.
What do you call it now?
Current world problems.
Current world problems?
Or politics.
Okay, but it was called current events. And every senior was required to take it. So I'm in current events, and we'd have this, what came up is the hippie movement. That was, when I was in school, the hippie movement was big, and long hair, you know, and they were talking about long hair, you know. I used to have long hair. In the middle of my back right here. Yeah, so it's hard to imagine that. You guys are looking at me, sure would. But I'm not going to show you pictures, sorry. Too scary. But anyway, so what happened though is Jesus came up. Somebody just brought up, Jesus had long hair. And then somebody goes, right, Brother Weaver? And immediately I had to go, well, we don't really know that. Well, the pictures have me. I said, did anybody have a camera?
Yes.
In Bible days? No. And some of the pictures you see, he's got blonde hair and blue eyes. Ridiculous. He was a Jew. He had black hair and brown eyes. Boom. And the problem is, the only reason they show him with long hair is because he was from Nazareth. So they thought he was a Nazarene. And he's even been called Jesus the Nazarene, but that's only because he was from Nazareth. And Nazarenes, see, you had this requirement. If you were a Nazarene, you could never cut your hair.
Like Samson.
Yeah, you could never cut your hair. Jesus never took that vow. So I just said, you know, hey, there's no proof. There's no proof. So using Jesus as an excuse to have long hair didn't work, because we don't know that he did. You know, that's the problem with people, though. There's this fear of fitting in. We need to fit in. Daniel didn't care about it. You and I need to learn to be like that. Daniel and his friends did this. I'm going to read just a little bit further, verse 14. It says, So when Arioch, the commander of the king's army, came to kill them, Daniel handled the situation with wisdom and discretion. He asked Arioch, why has the king issued such a harsh decree? So Arioch told him all that had happened. Daniel went at once to see the king and requested more time to tell the king what his dream meant. Then Daniel went home, told his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and we later called them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What had happened? He urged them to ask the God of heaven to show them his mercy by telling them the secret so they would not be executed along with the other wise men of Babylon. That night, the secret was revealed to Daniel in a vision. and Daniel praised the God of heaven. So what was the first thing they did when they faced fear? They all got together and did what? Prayed. They prayed. They asked God, help me. You know, have you ever asked God to help you?
Oh, every day.
Every day?
All the time.
I don't,
Day.
you know, it doesn't do any good to ask God to help you during a test. It's too late if you didn't study. The best thing to do is ask God, help me to remember. Don't, God, give me the answer. I didn't study.
That's if the questions on the test you were taught or studied.
Oh, wow.
Help me to remember, Lord. That's all I do. Is Lord, help me to remember. You know, but sometimes I don't. Do you guys remember everything?
Yes.
Everything? Yeah, whatever. Nobody remembers everything. Sorry. Nobody. You know, we don't. We just don't remember. We forget. So how do we bring that into today? Daniel was successful. How do we do it today? You know, we're going to bring it into like Jesus' time. So let's talk about Jesus. John 14:27, Jesus said this, okay? He said in verse 27, I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give, so don't be troubled or afraid. So, his peace. So, what does this mean? Okay. Two. It can mean a multitude of things, or even more than two for peace. But, you know, during the 70s, this is a huge movement. Everybody's going, peace, dude. You know, that's what. And everybody was saying, man. And they usually said it a little spacey because they were on something. But this peace is different than this. You know, the peace we get out is from the outside. God wants to give us a peace that comes from the inside. So he said, the peace I give to you comes from the inside. Nobody can take it away. You won't be afraid. So that's how I was able to walk through school and not be made fun of. You know, because, well, when I was made fun of, it didn't matter. I didn't care. In fact, I enjoyed it. It got to the place, I saw it as opportunity to even share. When they'd say, because they actually really did that. Hey, Brother Weaver, what's the word of the Lord for today? Well, I'd start preaching to them. Seriously, I'd start quoting scripture. But pretty soon they stopped asking me because, well, you know. But it did create other things. You know, I had the guy who started the whole name calling thing. He was a troublemaker from way back in grade school. He's the one that started the name Brother Weaver. But Brother Weaver, he stopped asking me what the word of the Lord for today was when, well, he started hanging. See, what happened is he moved into my locker with me. He wasn't asked to move into my locker, but, well, I'll tell you. And do you still have to share lockers at Tenasky? You don't have to? They didn't have enough lockers when I was a freshman in high school, okay? They didn't have enough lockers, so the freshmen had to share with one person. So two people got a locker together. It would be two guys, two girls, you know, they would do it both ways. So but they got to choose who you shared a locker with. I don't know if you'd like that, but so you were stuck with whoever they chose, not you, chose to share a locker with, okay? And the guy who had given the most trouble through grade school and high school was a guy named Roy. Roy was the guy who called me Brother Weaver. Roy was the one who called me shrimp, punk, I didn't like Roy. Now, in fact, by the end of 8th grade, I was like, Lord, you could remove Roy from my life. There's a lot of ways you could remove Roy from my life. You could move him away. You could kill him.
That's a bit too far.
I mean, come on! God can do anything. That wasn't really a good way to think, but didn't like Roy. Guess who the school stuck me with?
Not one.
Roy.
Oh my gosh.
I was gonna say that.
So the very first day of school, when I walked in and opened my locker, there was a Playboy centerfold right on the door. And Roy and his buddies stood back and they all laughed and said, "Hey, Brother Weaver, are you still a Christian?" And I tore it down and I said, "Yep." And man, but every day they'd stick up a new one. I was like, how many magazines do these guys have? It was every day. Finally after I think it was about a month, they stopped, and then Roy moved out and I got the locker for myself the rest of the year, which is fun.
How much tape residues left in the board?
There was a lot of tape residue. A lot of tape residue. But see, even through all of that, God gave me peace. I didn't worry. I started to enjoy Roy's hassle. It started to become fun to me. And what I didn't know is the impact I was making on Roy. Because see, when you don't get mad and you just take it, what I didn't know is Roy was actually watching. And by the time I got out, when we were seniors, you know how you sign annuals? You guys still do that, right? Sure. You're not a senior yet, but do you guys sign annuals?
Oh,
Not
yearbooks.
really.
You don't?
Yeah.
Like under a picture, or, all through
It's an
it.
annual. A yearbook.
Yeah, the annual at the end of the year, the yearbook.
I think it's like $50.
Yeah, costs a fortune.
Only 30.
Yeah, everybody usually signs in them.
Mine was free because I got.
I got mine, and you pass them around. And I passed mine around, everybody was signing it, all the seniors, all the friends, and so I was getting it full of, people writing on it, "Hey Vernon," and they'd comment. And somehow, some way, because I never gave it to him, Roy got a hold of it. So Roy wrote in my annual, still got it. And
What did you write?
he wrote, "Of all the guys in high school, I respected you the most because you stuck by what you believed." See, this is the problem. A lot of us are hypocrites because of fear. We say we're a Christian, but we don't live like a Christian at school. We try to fit in because of fear. We give in to fear and try to fit in. And God doesn't want us to try to fit in. He wants us to stand out. So God gives us peace. So the impact of Daniel, the main impact that Daniel had on was generationally. I mean, it was huge. It went way past Nebuchadnezzar. It went to the next king and the next king. And when Daniel was an old man, he was even thrown in a lion's den by a king from another country. But the lions wouldn't touch him. Why? Peace, no fear. He had learned all through his youth, I'm not going to be afraid because God doesn't leave me. It's always there. So Daniel ended up affecting generations, and he's still affecting generations today because we have what he wrote in the book of Daniel in the Bible. So young people, see, the reason it's good to change be a Christian as a young person is because you can affect a whole lot longer. When you change when you're old, well, you don't have as much time. You just screwed up most of your life and wasted it, and now you got this little window. But if you're young, man, I can affect the world for a lot of years. Well, if I'm here for a lot of years. So what God wants you to learn to be is someone who's not afraid to stand up. That's what I want to challenge you to be. Don't be afraid to be different. And I mean, like, who cares about wearing clothes that are different? That's just stupid. Usually that's not different. Because everybody, I remember when I was in school, when I first became a youth pastor, I took my youth group over to Seattle, and we were walking through the Bellevue Mall in Bellevue, and Bellevue Square, they used to call it. They still call it that.
Yeah.
Do they still call it Bellevue Square?
It's still there.
Yeah. And that's the first time I ever saw a girl with green hair. And she dyed it, and I was like, oh. You know, because I'd never seen it
Back
before.
then,
I was
yeah,
like
that was-
stunned. I was like, now you see it all the time, it's no big deal. But it never made it to our side of the mountains.
Right.
I mean, seriously, it was a new thing. But as I watched in the mall, I saw more and more green hair. And I was like, okay, it's a common over here. Just hasn't made it over the mountain yet. But it will. So the thing is, we try to be different by what we wear, what we do, and that doesn't make us different. That's just a fashion thing. That's not different. Different is an inside thing, not an outside thing. You can't change yourself from the outside in. You can only be changed from the inside out. And the only person who can do that is God. Jesus is the only one that can change you from the inside out. No one else can. No one else can. So, if you're going to be afraid in your life, and every one of us has had fears. I mean, we do. You go to, you guys have, new school. Were you a little afraid when you went to a new school? Because you don't know anybody. Yeah. It's a little weird when you move to a new school. We moved a lot when we were little kids. I didn't like moving to new schools because I didn't know anybody. And we did it quite a few times. And I remember going into a new school, kind of being nervous. But I always had this one thing. Jesus always went with me. Oh, every time. When I was in the 5th grade, we moved to our last school. You know, that was Tenasky. And I went all the way from 5th grade all the way through high school in Tenasky. And I still live in Tenasky because I like it. But I wasn't afraid by that. It didn't matter. See, God changes us from the inside out. And God wants to change you from the inside out if you'll let Him. You just got to let Him. That means you got to reach out to Him. And He'll do it. Amen? Amen.